Sounds good. So, like Jackie said, my name's Tim Pharis, and I was going to talk to you guys just a little bit about what we've been doing at Rocky Fork. Um, just a little foreground information. I am a park ranger. I'm not an academic, right? I barely passed biology in college. So everything that I'm going to get into is just kind of like my ponderings and my observations at the park. Um, Granted, I read as much scientific stuff as I can on HWA and control methods. I just wanted to put out that disclaimer. And also, my horoscope says I'm a hopeless optimist. So let's take that into account as well, is that I seem to maybe think things are going better than they actually are in life. So hopefully that's not going to has to do with our HWA. So on to the real presentation. Y'all can see it, correct? Okay.
Yep, we can
So
see it.
Rocky Fork. I got a nice little red arrow pointing to Rocky Fork State Park there. Just so you kind of understand where we are. We're about 5 miles from the North Carolina border, about 30 minutes above Asheville, North Carolina. Rocky Fork is arguably the newest state park in Tennessee. It's the highest elevation state park, so it's anywhere from 2,500 feet to about 5,000 feet. So the lower part of our park mimics a lot of Tennessee. The upper elevations of our park mimic upstate New York and southern Canada. A lot of hemlocks, uh, oak, poplar forests. And so Rocky Fork, it was the largest tract of land privately owned in southern Appalachia. Actually, in all of Appalachia, it was 10,000 acres, okay? And it went up for sale in, well, most recently 2008. And we were able to get it. The U.S. government, so Forest Service, got 8,000 acres of it, and the state park got 2,000. And like all of Appalachia, this sucker was heavily logged all the way up until 2003. I have a photo here. I could zoom in if you want, but I mean, you can see all through here, dense hemlock. You can see all the hemlock. Today, not so much hemlock left. Most of that is due to the logging. So 2008, it got up for sale. By 2013, Rocky Fork was a state park, but it had nobody on the ground. I was over at Warriors Pass State Park, and it's about 45 minutes to an hour away, and I was all about Rocky Fork. And I was saying, okay, these hemlocks, they're going, and we need somebody to get on it quick, so that way when this park is finally staffed, they have something to work with. A couple folks from U.S. Forest Service said, don't waste your time. These hemlocks are gone. So 2008, that's prime time for the first real decimating hit that we saw in all of them. And it took out tons of hemlocks. I was able to come in and get hired on as the park ranger in 2015 at Rocky Fork. And, I immediately went to work because I guess hopeless optimist, let's go ahead and get this rolling. And so we came up with this plan for imidacloprid soil drenching. And so we identified about 200 to 300 trees in each little quadrant of Rocky Fork. And this was based on most of the literature at the time saying that imidacloprid soil drench would last 4 to 5 years. So we were like, okay, if we have it each one, we can go back and treat one of those sections every 4 years, and that'll take care of the park. And we did it, and we treated close to probably 1,000 trees in the first few years with the help of the hemlock strike team. We started here, worked our way around until we got to about this 500 to 750 And these are numbered with like, little metal tags on the tree is what that identified. Not that important. So we got around here, and Rocky Fork, we had to buy this bridge to get across the creek on our hiking trail. This sucker was like $200,000, and it was grant funded, so we would get reimbursed, but it came out of our budget. And so our budget that year was completely shot. We had absolutely no money. And it kind of got into my head that, yeah, this soil drenching is great. It obviously works. These our hemlocks are getting healthy, they're getting green, they're smelling like a good healthy hemlock again. But it's somewhat of a band-aid. It gets it through, but it's not a long-term solution. A new park manager could come in and say, hemlocks, that's basically a cedar. Well, who cares? Let's just plant some cedars in here. That's just a dumb example, but anything could happen. And so we started looking at other stuff. Let me back up a second. Around that same time, like Hugo was saying, we also went to injecting a lot of trees. So we were actually 50 feet from any waterway. Rocky Fork is named after Rocky Fork Creek that rolls right through the middle here. It's one of the best trout fisheries in the state. We got native brook trout, like 10 miles of brook trout streams, beautiful rainbow trout fishing. So we are really into protecting this vital waterway. It's the cleanest tributary in all of the Nolichucky watershed. So we've been super careful about not getting insecticides in our creek, which kill all the insects. So yeah, about 2018, we were realizing that we needed to look at other methods, and so we started trying to go with a biocontrol. Jesse Webster down the Smokies had been having a lot of success with Larry's, and so we got on that train and we started setting up these insectaries. All these insectaries were funded by the Tennessee State Parks license plate with the irises on it. These are all Iris Fund projects, and we've set up 3 insectaries so far, and we've tried to release 1,000 beetles into each one each year. We're getting them from a private pest guys, Symbiont Pest Management over in high country in North Carolina. It's about $5 a beetle. So we're putting out about $5,000 a year in these 1,000 beetle releases. And so here, started off in 2019, and we dropped 1,000 beetles through here in, I believe, January. And realizing this would take a lot of time to really take off. These things aren't an immediate solution. They're not dinotefuran, where you're going to see beautiful growth all next year. We continued to inject our big 300, 400-year-old hemlocks. If nothing else, just seed trees for the next generation. Went back the next year, and this one, a nice big, it's called White Oak Flats, beautiful hemlocks through here. And just this December 2021, we dropped another 1,000 beetles here. Okay, and so as I'm sure this has been gone over a couple times, it takes a few years for these things to really show some results. So we're just now seeing the results of this 2019 release this past year. And so I was just going to talk about that one a little bit. Okay, so this is a zoom in on that. These are these stands of hemlocks where we released these beetles in 2019. And this past year, we did a survey seeing where we could find these beetles. And lo and behold, we found no beetles where we released them. Not a one. But we did find them where these X's are. So they're spreading out. An asterisk to us finding no Larry beetles is we also saw zero HWA, not a bit. So it makes sense that the beetles wouldn't be there because we're not finding any HWA in these groves where we release these beetles. And purely observational, I would put a check mark on there as a big success. I can go through and show you some pictures here. This is just actually some pictures. Oh, and a cool video of our release. So this is how I started releasing them. They come in these little white cups, and I've just started getting a nice sunny day, and just you can see here a stalk that's kind of been cut off, just stabbing that right there, and you can watch these beetles just take off. It's kind of cool. It's only about a 30-second clip, but you can just watch them just slowly take off. All right, yeah. And I'll check a few hours later if there's any left. I'll just give them a nice little shake onto an adjacent hemlock. Nope. All right. So here's kind of what we were dealing with. Typical little. This is a little bit too zoomed in. I meant for this to be bigger, but so you see this massive die off down here on the bottom of the tree, where HWA has definitely been there, and then this is kind of where we'll look a lot to collect beetles from and sample. You see this up top, dense crown. You can see this bright green from this new growth. Same here. All these pictures are of trees that have never had any imidacloprid in them. Down here, bottom, where there was dying off, slowly losing branches. And up here, you can see this density in this crown is just popped back. It's pretty thick up towards the top. All these pictures about a week ago. And here is just a close-up of one. And I like this because it shows this new growth that we're seeing in these insectaries. I mean, if you look at the tops of these, that's a good 2 to 3 inches of new growth on some of those sprigs. And, a cool thing here is what's missing. No HWA ovisex. And so this is just so we have some context. This is about 25 to 3,000 foot elevation on a big, sunny, south-facing slope. Go on to the next one, and this is we did see is down. This is one of the X's is where there is HWA. We're finding these beetles, and you can see this picture is just kind of cool, so I had to add it. Where he's been working his way up the twig, and he's just absolutely destroyed these ovisex, and he's kind of working his way up. So that's it. That's pretty much my presentation. We're working hard, and it's a work in progress, right? I'm nowhere at the end of our story. I don't have any conclusive evidence, but our imidacloprid treatments are working, and we're working hard on saving these big old legacy trees. We have some that are 300 years old that John Severe's troops walked by when they were in the area. So those, obviously, we're going to save these trees for aesthetics, for forest health, blah, blah, blah. But, we just felt the need to look at biocontrol also because I feel a little weary about just throwing neonics all into the forest when there might be another option. And so far, it looks like these Larry beetles are working at Rocky Fork. but we're higher elevation than a lot of Tennessee. Our winters are colder. Our cold spells are colder and longer. That probably has a play in it, that it's helping control some of this HWA2. So that was really short and really brief, and hopefully I'll have a bunch of questions to kind of fill in the gaps of things I didn't cover.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim. We really appreciate it. So at this point, if anybody has any questions for Tim, please feel free to either write them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question. And like I said, we're inviting a lot of people here to talk about what they're doing in their communities or on their land, or management in general, that's happening around the Eastern Seaboard in North America. So if you have a question for Tim and what he's doing at Rocky Fork, feel free to reach out to him. He provided his email.
Yeah. Let me go back to that. So anybody that wants to write it down can write it down. I'd love for y'all to come see us. Come check out our hemlocks. Give us your constructive criticism. See what we're doing. The forest is always there. Just come and check it out.
Tim, this is Margot from North Carolina, Hemlock
Hey.
Restoration Initiative. Hey, I'm just excited to see that there's all this action happening at Rocky Fork. Our crew actually met up with the Tennessee Hemlock Strike team at Rocky Fork a few years ago.
Yes.
And we were trying out stem injection equipment that day. And, I think that it's just really exciting. Since it's so close, since it's such a close neighbor of ours, it's exciting to see that all of this effort's been put into saving those trees, because we joked that they looked more like North Carolina trees than they did like Tennessee trees, because they were so heavily impacted already.
Yeah,
so
they got hit hard, and but they're on the rebound. Maybe thanks to some of those polar vortexes we saw about 2018, 2019. I'm sure that didn't hurt anything. But those trees that y'all treated, I appreciate it. They're still doing real well. And there's those ones y'all treated. You were there like 2016, maybe. Was that about 2017, maybe?
Yeah, I think the crew started treating 2016, and we came back in 2018.
Okay,
is when we came back. Yep.
Right. Well, even the ones in 2018, 2017, they're still going strong. No sign of infestation in the trees treated with imidacloprid.
Excellent.
Yep, that's great.
I'm excited to know that you're keeping track, and you're going to give us more reports as to how they continue to progress.
Yeah, we're excited too. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks, Tim. Really appreciate you sharing with us. So I appreciate you taking up my invitation to do that. So.
Oh, absolutely. I'll talk about hemlocks any day of the week.
Awesome. All right. So Hannah, you